Okay guys, so let's just go over the supplies that we'll need for this crochet devil bonnet. So you're going to want a size 4 or medium. I'm using acrylic, and this one is by Impeccable by Loops and Threads, and this calls for a 5mm hook, but we're going to be using a I or 5.25mm for the main part of the hat. And then we're going to be using a size E or a 3.5mm crochet hook for the horns. You'll also want some scissors, a yarn marker, tapestry needle, and tape measure. To begin, let's make a magic ring or a magic circle with our I or 5.25mm crochet hook. And then we're going to add 10 half double crochets to the center of our ring. So just yarn over, go through, pull up, and then yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook. So that would count as 1 and 2, and just go ahead and do 10, and I'll meet you back at the end. So once you have your 10 half double crochets, you're going to want to pull on this tail so that you can close this circle nice and tight. And we're not going to be slip stitching, we're just going to work continuously in the round. So that's why I'm going to be using a yarn marker so I don't lose my place. So we're going to put 2 half double crochets in each of the previous half double crochets. So there's going to be 20 half double crochets when you get to the end. So let's start off by making 1 into this first stitch. This first one's always a little difficult to work into. Seems like it's the tightest. And so after I work that first half double crochet, I'm going to want to mark that with my yarn marker so I know that that's where I need to end. So now go ahead and put another half double crochet in that same stitch because we're doubling. And then in your next one, you're going to put the 2 half double crochets. And just keep repeating that until you put 2 in each stitch or you just reach the 20 half double crochets, and I'll meet you at the end. Now this is what the 20 half double crochets will look like, and we stopped right before our yarn marker here, so we're going to actually remove that now. And the next row is going to repeat a pattern of 1 half double crochet and then an increase, 1 half double crochet and an increase. So in this next stitch here, to begin our round, we're just going to yarn over, go through, make 1 half double crochet, and we're going to use our yarn marker to indicate that that's where we need to stop again. And then in our next stitch, we're going to increase. So we're going to put 2 half double crochets into that next stitch. And then in our next stitch, we're going to just do that 1 half double crochet. And in the next one, we're going to increase or put 2 half double crochets. So just repeat that until you get to your stitch marker. So this is what you'll be left with after you finish that round. And you know that you completed it successfully if you end with your increase right before your stitch marker. So that's just always something that I look out for. So for this next round, you're going to remove your stitch marker again. We're going to work into that stitch, and this round we'll be repeating, doing 1 half double crochet, and then in the next stitch another single half double crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to increase. So let's just make our first one. We're going to do our half double crochet, put in our stitch marker, and then in the next stitch just 1 half double crochet, and then in the next we're going to increase. So put 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. And then we repeat. We just do the 1 half double crochet in the next stitch. In the next one we do 1 half double crochet. And then in that third stitch we increase. So just do that all the way around until you reach your stitch marker. Okay guys, so for our next round, we're going to remove our stitch marker once again. and we're going to be repeating 3 half double crochets and then an increase. So let's start off with our first half double crochet and then adding our stitch marker. In the next stitch we'll do a half double crochet, and in our third stitch we're doing another half double crochet. In our fourth stitch we're going to increase, so put 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. So just repeat with 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next, 1 half double crochet in the next or the third stitch, and then in the fourth we're going to do that increase, which is 2 half double crochets in that same stitch. So just go ahead and repeat that all the way around until you reach your stitch marker. Okay, so this is what you'll be left with after you complete that round. So we're going to remove our stitch marker and we're going to repeat doing 4 half double crochets and then an increase. So let's go ahead and make our first half double crochet in that next stitch, and we'll add our stitch marker. And then we're going to make our second half double crochet in the next stitch, our third in the next stitch, and then our fourth in that next stitch, and then in our fifth stitch we're going to do an increase. So just add 2 half double crochets into that same stitch. So go ahead and repeat that by doing 4 half double crochets and then an increase on your fifth stitch, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay guys, after that round of the 4 half double crochets and an increase, you want your circle to measure like from 5.5 to like 6 inches, and that fits my head, but I'm on the smaller side. I almost have like a teenager size head, but it does also fit like a smaller adult size head. If you feel like your head is on the larger side or you just want a little more room, maybe increase it to like the 6.5 inch range, and you'll do that by repeating these increases of, so for your next round you would do 5 half double crochets and then an increase, and 5 half double crochets and an increase, and just repeat that around. That might give you that extra length, or if you need to keep progressing from there, just increase in those increments. So then you would go 6 half double crochets and then increase, but just get it to around like the 5.5, 6 inch range if you are on the smaller side. So then from here we're just going to do half double crochets for 5 rounds. So for the next 5 rounds we're going to just do 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. We're not going to be increasing at all, and that's going to start to curve our hat in, and now it's laying flat, but we want it to start to curve around the head. So we're going to keep our stitch marker at the beginning stitch of each round, but we'll just do that first half double crochet, add our stitch marker, and this is beginning that first round of just half double crochets all the way around. So go ahead and just do 5 of these, and that will grow your hat and make it curve a little. Okay, so I went ahead and did those 5 rounds of half double crochets, and I got to, let's see, like 2 inches. And this hat, just keep in mind we're not putting it on top of our head like a normal hat. We're kind of tilting it this way, and this is sitting in on the back of the middle of our head. So this part down here will be touching right where your base of your skull will meet your neck, and then right up here will be the top of your head. So this, when you put it on the back of your head, should reach right to where your ears will start. So like right behind the ears. So now we're going to start to make kind of like the headband part that's going to cover our ears and eventually tie around our neck, so like the actual bonnet part. So this is like the back of the bonnet, but we still have our stitch marker to know where the center of our hat will be. So this will be the center of the back of the hat or the bonnet. So we want to stop our half double crochets right before then, and what we're going to do now is just work back and forth around the hat and not coming full circle. So what we're going to do here is, after we stopped right before our stitch marker, we're going to chain up 2, and we're going to turn our work. See, now we're looking at the inside of the hat where we started. But we're going to do half double crochets until we come up to this point again. So let's do a half double crochet in the stitch here. And just keep making half double crochets in each stitch around. And I'll meet you right before we finish this round. So just keep going, but don't connect anything. Okay, so I've almost finished this row here. So this is where I started, and I worked all the way around, and I'm coming up on the end here. So I just want to do one more half double crochet because I want to leave one unworked stitch in between here. So this is where my stitch marker was, and it showed me that this was the middle of my work. And so I just want to leave that stitch unworked. So what I'm going to do from here on out is just chain up 2, turn my work, do my half double crochets all the way around. So just keep working these half double crochets until you get up to this point again, and I'll meet you back at the end. So I'll show you how to repeat this until we get our desired length. Okay guys, so I'm coming up on the end of that round, so I just want to make sure that I finish up the appropriate amount of half double crochets, making sure to not leave out that last one here. And then this would be the point where we chain up 2, turn the work, and repeat. So just go around, chain up 2, go around. So just making sure to flip it around and around as you work these rows. So we just finished our second row. I ended up doing 11 rows of the half double crochets until I reached my hairline. So I just want to demo on my little skull that I have handy. I apologize, I don't have any normal mannequins in this house, but hopefully if you're watching a devil crochet video, you would expect that there would be a skull to be trying this on. So let me just get him into frame, and I'll show you guys how this bonnet should be fitting so far. Okay, here's my lovely model. So he is turned to the side because we're going to show how this bonnet fits. So a normal hat would sit up on top. The bonnet is going to start from the back of the skull here, and this is where we have that opening, and that will go towards the base of the skull, and it will just fit around like so. So we have the back point of the hat in the middle of the skull, or the back of the skull here. And before we started working these side flaps here, we wanted to make sure that this initial part was fitting right before where the ears started. So now this part that we've been working is going to cover the ears and then work up to the hairline. So I ended up doing 11 rows of that half double crochet going back and forth until I got to my hairline. So really make it custom to your size, try it on, make sure it fits, add extra rounds or rows if you need to make sure that you get that custom fit. Okay guys, so I went ahead and did those 11 rows, and this measured like 5 inches for me. But you want to keep going until this reaches like your hairline and covers your ears, even gets up to covering your temples, and meets at like your eyebrow. So it definitely will be fitting like a bonnet at this point. So you can go ahead and fasten off and then trim this yarn, and then you also want to find where the center point is on the front of your bonnet. So right where it would go, make a peak or a point in the middle of your forehead. So I just folded the work in half and then marked out where the center stitch would be, and this is going to be important where we're going to start this point or peak. Okay, so this is a finished bonnet that I have here, and this is the point that we're going to be making. So this is if you're looking at the top of the bonnet, and this point would be going down the middle of your forehead. So just a little perspective on where we're going to be making this next part. So you're going to take your work here, and this is the stitch that I marked out, and we're going to put 8 single crochets right in the front here. So I just counted from the center. I did 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to start right here, and then I'm going to do a total of 8 single crochets. Okay, so we're just going to take our yarn, and we're going to pull up a loop here, and you can either tie this or just start by making your chain up 1 and then just single crochet into that same stitch there. So that counts as 1. We'll go to the next one, 2, 3, 4, and now we got to our middle stitch. So we're going to continue 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to chain up 1 and turn the work. So now I'm going to put decreases at the start and end of each row here. So we're going to make a single crochet decrease, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these last 2 stitches we're going to do a decrease. And then we'll chain up 1 and we'll turn the work again. And we're going to start with the decrease and end with the decrease. So do your single crochet decrease first, and then we'll do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then decrease in these last 2 stitches. And then we'll chain up 1, turn the work, we're going to decrease, and there's only 2 stitches left here, so we're going to decrease again, chain up 1, turn your work, there's only 2 stitches here, so we'll just decrease in those 2 stitches, and then you can just fasten off. So this gave us our nice like widow's peak or point here in the front. So trim your yarn and then I'll meet you back. So for this next part, we're going to work on our ear flaps, or the ties that will go around our neck. So go ahead and do a chain of 50, and we're going to join that chain to where we fastened off initially, because I want to work in this tail here. So just a little perspective, this was that peak that we did. If you turn your work around, we're going to attach our chain of 50 right here. So you can see that I made a nice long chain already, and we could just go into that stitch that we fastened off here and just make a single crochet. So now you've attached that chain of 50 to the end of your work here. So just go along and continue to make single crochets, and just, you know, you can trap your tail so it's nice and clean and already sewn in now. And just keep doing this until we get to the peak here. Okay, so we worked our single crochets all the way until we got to our widow's peak here. So we're going to work single crochets up the side here. So we're going to want to put a single crochet in the stitch right before it begins, and then I'm going to skip this one because this is where we worked our first single crochet of the widow's peak. So I'm just going to jump into that single crochet here up the side. And then we're going to work one for this row. So just do your best with eyeballing where these single crochets are. Don't add too many or too little. This is another row, so we'll do a single crochet here. And then we get to our peak here, and I'm going to work 3 single crochets in order to turn this corner in a sense. So we're just going to work 3 single crochets into that same top stitch here. And this just gives us that length to be able to turn and work down the other side of this widow's peak. So just go ahead and eyeball it again. Just doing 1 single crochet all down the edge. And here's that stitch I'm going to skip on this side because that's where we worked our first single crochet of that widow's peak. So I'm just going to jump to the next one and do a single crochet. You can see it's still staying pretty pointed, but it's kind of giving it like this finished edge. And so continue to work your single crochets until you get to your last stitch here, and then just do a chain of 50 to mimic this tie on the other side. Okay, so I went ahead and finished that chain of 50 for that other tie. So you could easily end here. You could just trim and fasten off, and then you can have these nice skinny little ties that would go around your neck. Or if you would like a thicker tie or band, then you're going to actually turn your work. So after you made that chain of 50, you're going to turn your whole piece here, and then you're going to work up the edge of your single crochet chain, and then you're going to end up on your piece again. You're going to work your single crochets all the way around, remembering to put the 3 single crochets in that widow's peak as you go all the way around, and then work down the side of your chain here as well. So that would just give you a thicker tie. So to do so, we would just turn our work so you're seeing the back of your chain here, and you're just going to go in the top loop of your next chain here, and you're just going to do a single crochet and then find the top loop of your next one, just working single crochets all the way up, just making sure to not twist this chain at all. You don't want it tangled. So you can see it's getting a little thicker here, but just continue to work all the way up that chain until you get to the body of your piece. So you can see the thickness of this tie now versus the other one that we haven't worked into yet. And we made it to the body of our piece here, so I worked that last single crochet in that chain stitch, and then you're just simply going to join, going under both loops with your single crochet, and just continue up the side of your piece here until you reach that peak or that point. So continue to work around, and then when you get to the widow's peak, you're going to find the middle chain here and add 3 single crochets and then continue down. So just to keep that point intact. So if you don't want to go this route and you just wanted to make your ties and then work along the hairline or edge of the piece, you can always attach the widow's peak as an afterthought. So if you just worked this piece normally, you wouldn't have this point and it would just look like a regular bonnet, but then you could go ahead and find the center point of your bonnet again, and then you could do those 8 single crochets and then just decrease until you get to this point. And this leaves it as like a sharper point or edge, and you can decide how large you would want it to. So if you wanted it to be a little wider, you can go ahead and make maybe 10 of them as you're starting single crochets, but just know that that is an option to add this widow's peak as an afterthought. So before we go on, I just wanted to show you that this would be the more delicate rounded peak that we were just demoing with the single crochets, or this is the more pointed or harsh peak that you would get by adding this single crochet decrease section after the fact. So you decide what look you're going for, if you want that more harsh point or if you want that more delicate rounded edge. You could really go either way and it looks equally adorable. Okay guys, we're going to pivot now and start to work on the horn. So we'll need our E hook or our 3.5mm hook. You'll want a stitch marker and your yarn. So to start off by making the horns, we're going to do a magic circle or magic ring, and we're going to put 6 single crochets into the center of that. So just go ahead and make your magic circle however way you know how. And we're going to put 6 single crochets into the center. And then I like to tighten my ring by pulling on the tail a little bit. And then we're going to work 2 more rows or rounds of 6 single crochet. So just keep count at this point. You don't need your marker yet unless you want to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can pull on that tail a little more to close off that center. And then let's just do 6 more around here. So it's going to get a little tight and start to curve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then now we're going to increase, so we're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So just put 2 in each stitch until you reach 12. So once again, you don't really need your stitch marker yet. You can put it if you want, but just make sure that you get 12 stitches. So I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, so this is starting to look like the little point of the horn. So we have our 12 stitches. You're going to do 2 more rounds of single crochets. So do 1 round of 12 and then do another round of 12. So just make sure you keep count, or you can use your stitch marker, but just do 1, 2, 3, etc. until you get to 12. Okay, so this is what our 2 rounds of 12 would look like. We're getting a lot more body here. So this is when I would start using my stitch markers. So for this round, we're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase, 1 single crochet and an increase all the way around. So I'll start by doing my 1 single crochet, and then I'll put my stitch marker, and then I'm going to do my increase. So that's where we put the 2 single crochets in that same stitch. In our next stitch, we're just doing the 1 single crochet, and then in the next we're going to increase. So do this until you reach your stitch marker. Okay, so you should have ended on an increase, and then we got to our stitch marker here. So for the next round, we're going to remove that. We're going to do just 2 rows of single crochet. So go ahead and make your first single crochet and add your stitch marker so you know when to stop. So go ahead and just add 1 single crochet on top of each stitch here, and then do 1 more round of just 1 single crochet around. Okay, so after we finish those 2 rows of single crochets, we're going to do another increase round. So we're going to take out our stitch marker, and for this round you're going to repeat doing 2 single crochets and then an increase. So let's make our first one so that we could add our stitch marker. So that's 1 single crochet. In the next stitch we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then in our third stitch we're going to increase. So put 2 single crochets in that same stitch. So go ahead and repeat 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next, and then in that third you're going to increase. So do that all the way around, ending with an increase when you get to your stitch marker. Okay, so this is what we should be looking like after that increase row. Now you're going to want to do 3 rows of just regular single crochets. So you can remove your stitch marker and then make your first single crochet, add it back, and just do 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, but do 3 rows of that, and that should finish your horn. So when you finish those last 3 rows of single crochets, you're just going to fasten off your work and leave yourself a nice long tie so that you could attach it to your piece here. So you can try this on your head and then just place your horn and see what looks best for you, what your preference is. The way that I liked it best was counting sort of these chunks or these ridges here, and you could see them kind of distinctly. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I placed it on like this 5th section here. So that seemed to work best for where I wanted the placement, and then I kind of just diagonally followed this peak, and that seemed to look best for what I was going for. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, so like right around there is where I thought it looked best. So you're just going to take your tapestry needle and make sure that you don't go through your whole piece here, but just making sure that you stitch your edge of your horn into your hat. And it's going to be a little tedious, and just line it up as best you can, but you're going to get that on there nice and securely. Some people might even want to stuff this with a little stuffing, but I feel like it holds its shape pretty well since we use that smaller hook size. It's pretty stiff. So go ahead and make another one of your horns so that you could attach both of them. But then it should end up looking like this on here, nice and securely. And you have your ties here to go around your neck, and you got yourself a little crochet devil bonnet.